Hello, my name is Darren. I'm a dad. I'm an airline pilot. I'm a husband of a scientist. And a few weeks ago, I posted a video about choosing to upgrade to captain on the Airbus or stay first officer on the 777. And well, what did I decide? I decided to stay first officer on the 777. I had a few reasons for this, but let's take a seat. I'll go through my thinking about why I'm staying 777 first officer, at least for now. And I'm going to show you one of my favorite travel devices I use as an airline pilot in the United States. Join me for a random video of hangar talk with Darren. So yeah, I decided to stay first officer, and you know, it made sense. I talked to my wife and my kids a little bit, but mostly my wife about what we should do for us. And I'm a used quality of life person, right? And for me, I have a pretty good quality of life right now on 777. It's a slow month, but as you can tell by my facial hair, I haven't flown very much or in a while. I think I'm going to end the month working just 3 days of reserve. And then while I do like flying, I like time off as well. It's a hard balance there. But let's go through the some numbers here. It's a lot of numbers, and I'll give you the kind of the reasoning of why I'm staying a 777 first officer, at least for now. And then I'm using this great website developed by a pilot here at this airline that can show my career progression, and it will show what happens if I stay 777 first officer until I can be 777 captain only in Dallas, or what if I go to Airbus Captain and then later on go to 777 sorry, go to Airbus Captain and then later on go to 777 Captain. What are the lifetime earnings? And you would assume that the 777 having a higher pay rate would have a much higher potential earnings, career earnings over a career than the lower paying Airbus. But it didn't come out that way. So grab some popcorn. It's going to be some numbers. They'll be here on the screen for you to see. I'll talk slow, but I'm going to give you some reasoning about why I'm staying where I am, and then also show you the difference between a few of my career paths I have open to me. Again, my number one thing is quality of life. In my career, I have had to commute for a little while. I've commuted. I was forced to commute to LaGuardia for a few months after my first kid was born. Didn't like it. I had a hotel room, so it wasn't a real commute, but that showed me right away I'm not a good commuter. And then later on, I had to commute to Chicago O'Hare for 5 months straight. Forced commute. I had a hotel room the whole time, but it was not something I wanted to do. Now, that said, I did commute for my first upgrade to captain. I was very frustrated. Kind of a mistake, but I did what I did. I commuted to Chicago for 3 or 4 months. Didn't have a crash pad, and I was able to transfer to Dallas pretty quickly. But that taught me early on commuting is not worth the paycheck for me. If it's worth it for you, go for it. If you have to commute, hey, handle your business. But let's just look at some numbers as far as where I am now and then where I could be. So right now, I am number 204 out of 230 pilots on the Dallas 777 roster. Solid reserve. If I were Dallas captain right now on the Airbus, I'd be 674 out of 822. So about 82% still reserve. Uh, Next month, there are some people in my status at 80% that are holding lines. I looked at their lines. They're holding 4-day trips over weekends. And to me, being a captain, working 4-day trips over weekends, for me, is a lower quality of life than being a 777 first officer working 3-day trips. I make less per hour, but we'll get to that. And just for kicks and giggles, if I was on the 737 as a captain right now, I'd be number 392 out of 585. I'd be 67%. I'd be a line holder on the 737. Now, someone's going to quickly start commenting, Darren, if you said you like quality of life so much, why don't you bid 737 captain? You're the most senior of those three spots, which you are correct, except quality of life. I have been in that 737 flight deck many times. That is not somewhere where I want to spend 20 hours of my life a week. It is a safe airplane. It is a fine airplane, but it is not somewhere where I want to spend my time. It's very very cramped, very antiquated. Um, if I'm doing a transcon on the Airbus, I can say, "Hey, your aircraft for a minute. Stand up and stretch my legs in the back of the flight deck." On a 737, you can't do that. You're kind of locked in. Again, it's not somewhere where I want to be, so it's not even an option for me. Now, looking at the pay right now, this hourly pay, 777 FO versus Airbus Captain. I'm getting a pay raise here in November as my annual month of hire date, right? My pay will be 292.82 an hour as a 777 first officer versus 349.87 as an Airbus captain. It's about a 50 some odd hour difference, right? Uh, $50 an hour difference. But that's short lived because, well, hold on. So a monthly pay at short call reserve pay per month is 22,254.32 for a 777 first officer versus 26,590.12 as an Airbus captain. So it's about a $4,300 difference between those two. That's important, and it's easy to make up. Hold on. But in January, I get another pay raise. My 777 first officer pay rate will be 304.54 an hour versus the Airbus captain pay rate of 363.87 per hour. The monthly pay at short call reserve is 23,145.04 for a 777 first officer versus 27,654.12 as a Airbus captain. The difference there is $4,509.08. That's a lot of money. $4,500 is a lot of money, right? Difference between those two pay rates. Except that equals about 14.8 hours of work as a 777 first officer. A 3-day trip at this airline pays at least 15 hours and 45 minutes. The average 3-day trip on a 777 first officer is 19 hours, right? That's a London trip. Easy. So if I were to pick up one 3-day trip to London per month extra, then I'm in parity with the Airbus Captain pay. And before you say, well, you're working 3 more days per month, no, I'm not. All I have to do, if, again, I've done it before, is that if I come in, if I'm off on Sunday and I'm on reserve the next 5 days, if I can bid for a trip on Sunday night, leaving at 8 o'clock at night to London, that I get the 15.8 hours pay or the 19 hours pay right there. It goes on top of my reserve pay. So by coming in one night on a day off, I can be at parity with pay, at least for Airbus Captain for short call reserve. Yes, line holders make more money. There's so many ways to cut this and say, well, and squeeze the balloon kind of thing. But it's not that big of a deal. For the pay difference can be made up pretty easily as a 777 first officer. So that said, let's look at the career progression. And here's a lot of numbers, and I'll talk slow, and I'll put them on the screen. My current global seniority of the whole company, I'm at 55.73%. I'm almost right in the middle of the seniority list. Airbus FO again, I am 88.7%. No, sorry, 777 first officer, I'm 88.7%. Airbus captain, I'm at 83.7%. 737 captain, I'm at 69%. And then Airbus captain LAX, swinging there for the heck of it, is 87%. 2 years from now, where will I be? Well, I'll go up 10% company wide. So all you pilots, 10% of my workforce is leaving, above me anyway, in the next 2 years. And September 2026, I'll be 72% as a 777 first officer. So not a big change. I guess it's about 16% change. But as the Airbus captain, I'd be 61%. That's a big change. 737 captain, I'd be 53%. And Airbus captain LAX, for the heck of it, 72%. And the final stat I'll give you, this is a 5-year long-range look at DFW only. I don't care about anywhere else. I'm not going to commute. In December of 2029, globally, I'll be 31%. So I'm going up 24 percentage points. 1/4 of the airline above me is leaving in the next 5 years. 777 first officer, I'll be at 56%. So finally a line holder for sure. Probably before that, but Airbus captain though, I'd be 35%. That's pretty senior. 737 captain in Dallas, 34%. So those numbers have come together now. And Airbus captain LAX at 52%. So it does lean toward, for quality of life reasons, to go to Airbus captain at some point versus 777 first officer. It could anyway. So what if I were to stay on the 777 as a first officer until I can hold 777 captain Dallas? What would the difference be between the total and my retirement date as far as what I would be earning if I were to just go stay here until I can hold captain in Dallas on 777, or if I were to go to Airbus captain and ride it out all the way to the end? you would think that me going to 777 captain, I'd make more money, but that's not true. Because again, until I become 777 captain, I am an Airbus I am a 777 first officer. So I can't hold 777 captain in Dallas until 2035, 11 years from now. Uh, so when I reach retirement in 2042, March 2042, my Airbus captain total compensation, that's 401k and all the other stuff, is $10.8 million. Of that, my 401k value will be $3.6 million. And there are some assumptions here. I do put in an extra 8% into my 401k, and my company gives me 17% of my money into my 401k per month. When I retire as a 777 captain, again, that is me staying 777 first officer until I can hold 777 captain. I'd be at $10.6 million total compensation with a very similar 401k. It's like $8,000 off because you hit the cap a lot in the 401k with this amount of money. Now, what if I were to say, hey, let's just hold out as 777 first officer and I can hold 777 captain anywhere in the system? Well, that would be New York. So if I were to just be a commuter to New York because my kids are grown and they're out of the house and my wife's like, hey, do what you want to do. System wide, it'd be New York. My total compensation would be $11.3 million with the same 401k. So I'd be commuting for 7-8 years, right? And I earn a whole extra, again, that's a lot of money, but $500,000 by doing that, commuting versus just staying in Dallas. What's your time worth? As far as my seniority at the end of my career, well, if I were to stay Airbus captain throughout, so if I were Airbus captain next year, I'm going to stay Airbus captain until I retire. I'd be in the top 3% in my status when I retired. As far as 777 captain in Dallas, I'd be 48%. Big difference, quality of life. Company seniority will be 6%. So I'm not going to retire number one, but I'll retire in the top 10%, 6%. That's not too bad. Again, I got hired here when I was 40, a little older. My salary, my final year as an Airbus captain, my monthly pay would be $40,321, and then my 777 captain pay would be $49,973. So I'm earning more money per month as a 777 captain because it's higher pay rate, right? But it took me longer to get there, and again, it's so many ways to squeeze this balloon. Again, I put the assumptions on the screen, but the last year of my employment at this airline, my Airbus Captain 401k monthly contribution to be $88.84, and the 777 Captain contribution to be $11,011, including the company and my own money. So a lot of numbers I just threw at you, but it kind of shows you that at least if I don't want to commute, the end goals, the end amounts, are very close to each other. Again, you can be more aggressive and go to the base, just move to the base that has the best seniority and do it that way. But one, I'm not single, right? I have a wife and kids. We like where we live here in Dallas. And two, I'm a dad and then an airline pilot, right? I don't let being a pilot define who I am, right? Uh, I'm just a dad. So I like my free time, and I like the benefits that this job gives me as far as the free time we have. We travel a lot as a family, so I think I'm probably gonna. Oh, I'm gonna stay 777 first officer, obviously, for the rest of the year. Um, the next vacancy bid will probably come out in December, and it should be effective for like August of next year, I believe. I think it's August next year. Yeah, it should be August. Maybe June. Might be June. Yeah, it probably is June. Thinking out loud. So when the bids come out from this most recent bid, I'll have a video about it, and I'll see where I would fall if I had bid Airbus Captain. Um, See how that goes. But I suspect I probably will bid Captain on the next one, or whenever if I can see my seniority on the Airbus Captain fleet being in such that I'll be a solid line holder with trips that I would like. There's so many tools available as an airline pilot at my airline through my union that I can see where I fall on any status, and I can see what people above and below me are bidding, right? And of course, they have their own preferences. Maybe they want to work weekends, but I can see for months back where my seniority would be and what people are getting trips that are above me and below me, just to get an idea of what they're getting, right? So once I see that they're getting trips that I would like, then maybe I'll bid captain. Again, I don't see myself unless something drastic changes, staying where I am for more than a year, maybe at most 2 more years, just because of the seniority, right? Uh, I'll move up faster seniority with better quality of life, in my opinion, for me and my family as an Airbus captain than I probably would as a 777 first officer. It could change, things change, but that is the gist of it. Again, a lot of numbers to throw at you. Again, I got these numbers from myaacareer.com. It is a site made by a pilot at my airline. It has lots of assumptions made, and it's very conservative. You tell it a lot of data. You give it a lot of your data. It has some of your data, but I tell it how much I make from I made so far this year, and from my 401k and everything else. And it uses the data it can get from the company to make these assumptions. So nothing's perfect, but that is it. And next, I will show you on the screen one of my favorite devices I use as an airline pilot, an AirTag holder for my ID. As an airline pilot, I have sadly had to have my wife bring me my ID more than once when I left the house with no ID. And on an overnight once, I left my ID in the hotel room. This was Columbia, South Carolina. I was on the Embraer 145, and we were on the way to the airport. And I reached down and went, "Oh my gosh, no ID." And I told the van driver, told the captain, like, "Oh my gosh, we don't have time to go back to the hotel." We were staying at the suburbs at the regional, some cheap hotel. So we got to the airport and we had to do our company procedures. The captain kind of vouched for me, saying, "This guy in this uniform, he's not just some random guy. He's my first officer." And we had to vouch for me. We had to do all these forms, yada yada, at the check-in desk, and again at security, then again at the gate. It's very tedious. But I'm like, crap. This is like day 2 or 4. I have no ID. It's gonna be a pain in the butt for the next 4 days, 3 days. Anyways, we pushed out from the gate on time. I'm like, man, I hope he brings my ID in time. And right when they dropped the nose, they said, "Hey, the van driver just arrived at the check-in desk with your ID." We went, "Great. Can you bring it out to us?" "Yes, we're throwing it on a tug right now." So they threw it on a tug and drove it out to the airplane. We had started just one engine at that point. They brought up to the nose of the airplane, and thankfully I was on the Embraer 145 that I could open the window, get my ID, and finish my trip. This is not a sponsored video. It's a little device I got from Amazon. It charges on a key or QI fast charger once a week. And this way, when I leave my ID behind, I get an alert on my phone saying, "Hey, you don't have your ID with you." It is a tool to use. Another thing I do in hotel rooms when I buy food, I buy a lot of food, and I use your hotel refrigerator, is I'll hang either most of the time my tie into the refrigerator hanging out. That way in the morning, I won't leave the hotel room without my tie on. And be like, "Why's my tie in the refrigerator?" "Oh yeah, I put food in there." So 2 tips: one, smart AirTag for your ID, and two, if you buy food and use a hotel refrigerator, hang your tie from the refrigerator, because you will not leave. Hopefully, you will not leave the hotel room without having a tie on. But that's my video. My name is Darren. I'm a dad. I'm an airline pilot. I'm a husband of a scientist. I appreciate your support. If you can support me on these social networks you see over here, like, comment, subscribe. If you click that little notification bell, I'll go live once a week. You get notified when I go live. But otherwise, have a great day. And as always, thank you for stopping by.